It's now time to summon the Lords of Thunder! With your hosts, Alpha, Omega, Sin, and Happy Console Gamer.
Greetings and salutations! This is the Lords of Thunder podcast, brought to you from a galaxy far, far away by two magnificent beasts. I am the incomparable Alpha Omega Sin, and I'm coming from the dark side, naturally, and I'm here with the one, the only, Happy Console Gamer.
Yay! Whenever you come in speaking super strong, I all of a sudden just go into like little man mode. Yes, and I'm over here on the light side.
So I get to be Vader, you get to be Leia. But and we have to be careful with that because there definitely is that porn on Pornhub where Vader's getting a blowjob from Leia, which is just weird with all the incestual parts of it.
There's no possible way to start this podcast without some sexual reference.
Well, no. I mean, if we started the podcast not talking about, Vader force choking Leia with his ding dong, I mean, what kind of podcast are we truly running here?
This would be ridiculous. It'd be defunct automatically.
That's something nobody's interested in. I mean, come on now. But genuinely, Pornhub and Star Wars, type that in. You'll find a lot of cool shit. Just don't do it with E.T. There's weird shit to be had.
I saw the E.T. porn clip years ago, and I was absolutely mortified. It's the strangest thing that they got a girl, to don a horribly made E.T. suit and have sex with like a ton of people. But it's in like the Victorian age. It's really weird. It's just so fucked up. It's gross, man.
And the best part about it is how awful the costume is, and they just leave like the butthole open, and then the tits hanging out, and then like the fucking vaginal crease, the stench trench, it's just E.T. phoning home on, and it's just it's terrible, 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 terrible.
There was not one redeeming moment in it at all. I was like, oh, what is this E.T. porn? This sounds hilarious. And I watch it, I'm like, this is not hilarious.
I'm just wondering why we can't get a fat bitch that's dressed up as Jabba the Hutt and is just taking it in all holes from like somebody dressed up as Boba Fett or something. I want Wookie Nookie now.
Oh man,
yes.
I want to stay away from fucking all of that. I would not want to see that Jabba the Slut. Jabba the Slut!
Yes, yes. That needs to be a thing. Oh, yes. Oh, Jabba the Slut. Let me give it to you. Look at the fucking little disgusting trail that you leave behind you. Oh, your poorly CG'd titties are everywhere.
Man, oh man, maybe when we become multi-millionaires, we can just waste money with shit like that. Oh, you know what I mean?
Dude, if ever, we're just sitting around on billions of dollars for no real reason, but like, today we are going to get top-of-the-line Disney or Pixar animators to go and devise some of the most disgusting and fucked up porn scenes from also, like, Rule 34 taken to the extreme with a professional budget.
So we can do, like, porn scenes from all our favorite movies. So it could be like Big Trouble in Little China, the porn movie.
Like if I can't go into this at some point and have like Inspector Gadget porn, which is perfect considering all the crazy accessories, like he turns his dick into a sex swing, then what the fuck am I really a billionaire for? Clearly, I'm not doing it.
Swing.
Dude, that would be right there. Like, come on, Penny, hop right on, and it starts getting crazy because the dog's in there, and it's like,
wait, what sound did the dog make again?
I don't know, but he'd be making a lot of crazy sounds once the sex swing is introduced. It'd be a lot like that. And the best part about all this is people were like, oh man, new Lords of Thunder podcast, and they click on it, they're like, dear God, these depraved son of bitches are never gonna talk about Star Wars except for like pornography and shit, because we're clearly fucked up in the head, but you should have all expected that by now.
And that is the topic for the day. for today is Star Wars. Everything Star Wars. Especially, we're looking at nearly 3 weeks away from the movie. Like I can't believe it's that soon. But also, I really want to say something. Like, I'm gonna tell a story today that is I mean, you can't make this shit up. It's bizarre. It's a true story. It's a story I've never told before on a podcast or on anything. And it's about George Lucas. And it's a real story about somebody I met who used to work down at the Lucasfilm Ranch and all that. Yeah, I had to hide some details because I can't let the person's identity be known because they were a very well-known person down at ILM. So, but it's an incredible story, and I think it'll shock you all. I swear to God, this is true.
I'm just hoping that all of this doesn't lead to you taking a shot in the mouth to go and get some real legit Star Wars memorabilia by Mr. Lucas and his grand beard of might.
Okay, you know what, Alpha? I'm going to start with this story because this story has needed to be told for a very, very long time, and it's really fucking.
I mean, you're building us up. If you're gonna build us up, I mean, you've got to take it all the way home.
Yep,
Talking like multiple gasms. Do it.
I know you're eating that pizza. Continue to eat that pizza and enjoy this story because so what it was is I went to kind of an artsy party downtown. And, there's a lot of artists and stuff like that. And I got invited, and I rarely would go to these things. It was through another friend of mine who did tattoos. He's a big tattoo artist in town. So I went down, and I was only on my second beer. And that's the whole thing, is that nobody was drinking a lot and all that. And so, anyways, this guy came over to talk to us, and we're very friendly, and we're really easy to talk to. And he's like, "Oh, hey, guys, how you doing?" And we said, "Good." And he's like, we said, "Oh, like you in Vancouver?" Because he just seemed like he wasn't. Like he was from an outsider. He was asking like a bunch of questions. Like they were like, "Oh, you don't live here?" He's like, "No." He goes, "I've just moved here," and he goes, "My family's back," and he goes, "And I came out." He goes, "I just got a job at I don't want to say at a big video game company in town," and he said I can't even say what he did, doing some texture art. I'll say, yeah. I'll say that. And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, I'm looking for a house for my family, and then we're all like moving out here. So he goes, "I'm just out here for this week. I'm just checking in with this place I'm working at and all that." And we're like, "Oh, cool." And so that was that. Like, and then I said, "Oh, where did you used to work?" And he wasn't forthcoming about it. He wasn't bragging about it. It was just part of his regular life. And for me and you, we're fanboys. If you ever hear of anybody working at Industrial Light and Magic or for Lucasfilm, it's like, "Oh my God," So,
oh yeah, that shit would just amaze the living crap out of us.
Yeah, so we're all kind of like being pretty cool, and it ended up it was only like a couple of us, my tattoo friend and myself and somebody else. It was kind of half there, and so I said, "Oh, what did you work before this? Where are you up from?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I worked down at Lucasfilm," and we're like, "Lucasfilm?" We're like, "Really?" I said, "Like Star Wars?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "I worked on all the Star Wars movies." I'm like, "You did?" I said, "What did you do?" And he goes, "Blah blah 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 blah." I'm not going to say what he did. It's a very, very high position there. Let me just say that. And so I'm like, "Oh my God." I said, "Seriously?" Because he said what he did. And I'm like, "Did you do that?" He's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh, you did this?" He said, "Yeah." I'm like, "Holy fuck. Can't believe it." I said, "This is crazy." And so anyways, a couple more drinks go by. The conversation gets a lot looser. And so I started asking him, "Oh, like, what's it?" I said, "Do you ever, what's it like to work with George Lucas?" He's like, "Oh, he's a pretty cool guy." He says, I haven't dealt a lot with him one-on-one. He said, "But he just comes in and he oversees the department and blah, blah, blah." And he gives us he says, he'll come in and say this, this, and this, and this, whatever. He said, "But here's the thing." He says, he said a story about Steven Spielberg came into the office and he was freaking out. This guy, he's like working on something. He's like, "Oh, fuck, this is not working out." And all of a sudden this guy comes up behind him. He's like, "Oh, don't worry, man. Just keep working on it. I'm sure it'll work out." And you look back and it was Steven Spielberg. That's the kind of people who are just in the offices all the day, every single day. So he also said something about, is it Doug Chang? He was the head art guy there. And he oversaw all of the art department. He's working on the new Star Wars movies. I hope I got his name right. Doug Chang. But he said how annoying he was. he told me a story about him, and everybody, like, he'd always come up to you and critique your work, even if there was nothing wrong with it, just because he's like the big art director, and that's his job. He had to do that. So everybody started to fuck around with him. So this guy would draw purple in the right side of the screen just on purpose, just for all this purple. So when he came over, he'd go directly to this, say, "Hey, I like the imagery, but it's a little bit purple. Maybe get rid of the purple down below, just to feed him, so he'd go away." And so I was like, "Wow, that's fucking hilarious." And so that's how he got rid of him every time, by putting in a fake color just to drive him. So, "Oh yeah, get rid of that color." He's like, "Oh yeah, I'll get rid of that color right away." "Oh great." So he feels like he's being an art director and he's doing something. It's really,
naturally we have to chime in with, "It's a trap. It's a trap.
It's a trap." So here's the thing. He's like, and then the reality of, he started talking about George Lucas, and just started talking to him that everybody who worked on the movies knew the movies were terrible. The prequel movies. Everybody knew the movies were bad, and nobody could say anything. They all were talking in their circles within Lucasfilm, like, "Oh God, this is really bad stuff." And, none of them felt confident about it, but they were getting paid extraordinary money, so they went with it. So anyways, here's the thing. Here's the story. Is that, I guess there's the Lucasfilm Ranch, and then down the road, and I've not been there, so I don't know. This is all from his story. Is that down the road there's like a small town area, very small town, and there's a diner, and everybody from Lucasfilm goes to the diner to eat because it's a little, gets you out for a bit. So everybody would always hang there. Everybody would always be at this diner. So because of this diner all the time, they started talking. Seriously, this is true. This is the most fucked up story ever. People will be like, "No way." And I'm telling you, this is from the horse's mouth. All the people who used to be in the diner used to talk to the local prostitutes. There actually was prostitutes in this town. And, like a white prostitute and a black prostitute, it didn't really matter. But this is who they would talk to. And they started hearing all of these stories, all of these rumors about George Lucas picking up prostitutes. And everybody's like, yeah, it's funny. But the prostitutes are like, yeah, the prostitutes had a name for George Lucas. They called him, they called him Bluebeard. That was their nickname for him. Now, I'm not joking. How can I make this shit up? It's so weird. They called him Bluebeard. I don't know. And there was something I can't really remember, something about, because he tipped so much, and because his beard was kind of bluish. I don't know. They had some funny thing about that. I don't know what that was about. But so I'm like, "Are you serious? Like, you're telling me George Lucas picked up prostitutes?" He goes, "I wouldn't have believed it if I didn't see it myself." I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "I'm walking up the road." And he goes, one day, he goes, like, by, in this town, he goes, and this big black truck shows up. And it's all tinted windows, all that. You can't see into it. And the prostitutes are on the side of the road. And the fucking window goes down, and fucking George Lucas sticks his head out. And I'm sitting there, I was just like, "You're fucking shitting me." He's like, "Yeah." He says, and the girls got in. He goes, "I wouldn't have believed it." He goes, "I couldn't believe that I saw that." He says, "Everybody knew about it on the ranch." He goes, "Ask anyone who worked there." And I'm like, wow. And that was the story. And this guy was super legit. Like, I mean, he told me his job and all that down to a T, and he was a really professional guy, and the information he gave me, and there was a whole bunch of things I'm leaving out of the story because I don't want to give away like who he was and all that, because that would be brutal. I don't want to do that, especially in a public space. But I was like having my like third or fourth beer, and I was like, huh. You know what I mean? I was like, listen to this story. I'm like, this is just wild.
It's a good thing you were actually drinking beer, because for stories like that, I think you have to be lit just a tad bit to truly comprehend everything that was being said.
Oh, I mean, I still to this day, I'm not joking, I look back, that was the most memorable conversation I've ever had at a get-together party with anybody. And I never saw this guy again. He obviously flew back home and, grabbed his family, and they came back into Vancouver here, and he got a very, very high up job. That's the thing. And that's why And you know what's so funny? He gave me his email and all that a long time ago, and I remember I had it on a piece of paper, and I lost it long time ago. Oh God! I remember like, oh, that's there, and then if I saw it now, I'd be like, I don't even know where the fuck it would be.
Dude,
But
now I just want to go to some kind of signing that he'll be at and just yell at like Bluebeard and see if his head will cock to the side while he looks around. Like, damn it! Did one of them get off the ranch? Are they here right now trying to go and fuck with me?
yeah, but it was so interesting. Like he ends up getting married years ago, years later, and like he has a certain preference for women, we'll say. And that's what's very interesting. Like
here's how I see it. Ladies were making good money. He was having a good time. Fuck it. Everybody's happy. There you go.
And hey, I'm exactly like you. I don't give a fuck. But it's kind of like one of those things when you heard Michael Jackson molested children and you're like, why would he do that when he has so much money? And the same thing to do with George Lucas. Why would he do that when he has so much money? I mean, couldn't he go on a dating site and say, "Hey, who wants to date?" and and just get like a bit of fun? Or
I mean, for George Lucas, he was like, you know what? I don't want anything that's like got strings attached. Fuck all that shit. I just want blow job. Somebody jerk me off, whatever the fuck, and just call it a day. And that's it. Then off to the green screen set where he can go and have a fucking apple floating through the air that nobody is really eating. So that's pretty much how it went. He cleans himself down. I'd say that's pretty good. So long as he gets all the fucking weird prostitute crumbs out of his beard, George Lucas is fine.
It's such a weird story that to even talk about it is surreal. Even for me, I'm less like, man, I hope people believe me because the guy I talked to was legit. He's the real deal. And he was telling me it all kind of really flowed. It wasn't like, yeah, and then this happened. And he wasn't like, he was really casual about it and all of that. And we were all like having a bit of a laugh and at this point, we were very intimate with him. And he felt like he was from out of town, and we're like friends, for him. And he was having a good time with us. And we were the one that were like, yeah, tell us more, tell us this. And he was just feeding the details to us.
I mean, he might have been having a good time with you, but I don't think it was nearly as good of a time as George Lucas was having. So that's...
Wait, you mean Bluebeard?
Oh, yes. Oh, wait, I am sorry. We have to start using the code names that the prostitution ring has devised. So Bluebeard was having a bitchin' ass gnarly time, all up in the Sarlacc pit, and just doing his thing. So to me, I'm just like, you know what? Do your fucking thing, George Lucas. Bang prostitutes all fucking day. You're living the dream.
Yeah. You're living the dream. It's funny. And that, did you know this? That George Lucas just had a child.
Did he?
Yeah, and he's in his late 60s, I think maybe early 70s.
Hey, man, he's not shooting blanks. I think that's pretty fucking cool.
Well, yeah, he's thinking back to all the heydays of, he's staying up from all the stories of what he used to do.
He's just like, oh, man, that one time in Denver. Oh, that was some good shit.
With Jabba the Slot.
Yeah. And then Steven Spielberg comes down and he's just banging away at another prostitute, and then he's thinking about the ET porn, and things just get out of hand and crazy. Tons of crossover shit and cosplay stuff, and just somebody slips, dildos happen, there it is. Our childhoods ruined. Well, our childhoods aren't nearly as ruined until you see that episode of South Park where they go and rape Indiana Jones.
Oh, that was the best. Oh,
dude, that shit. Oh my god. I remember seeing that. I don't turn away from, like, anything at all. I've watched some of the most fucked up, brutal, gross, disgusting things on the internet because, 4chan and go into all sorts of fucking crazy-ass websites. But that stuff in that South Park episode where they're just raping shit at Indiana Jones, I kept turning away. I was like, stop it! Leave him alone! And they're like, oh, yeah. And I was like, no! It was just like in the show. I really felt like they were... It was so cruel. So fucking.
Yeah, and then you see fucking Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh god.
I'll give Matt Stone and Trey Parker a lot of credit. They were on point with that shit. They were fucking on
They
point.
really, yeah.
Like they knocked out of the park. Not nearly as much as they did this season, because this season is the fucking shit. But
Oh, are you on top of this season?
I've seen the episodes except for one of the early ones, because when I went to southpark.com it wasn't available for some reason. I guess it was like too old or whatever.
Oh, weird. Yeah, I'm all up to date. I gotta check out the. I think we're on like a 3-parter right now. I think there's a first part, second part, and then a third. They're all like a continual story going on, but love it. But
They don't do that all that often. I mean, hell, the last time that they did that was what, Imagination Land?
Well, no, didn't they do the Thanksgiving one? Or sorry, the Black Friday one? Was that 3 parts? Or was it was 3 parts.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. It was 3 parts, I think. Yeah.
Okay. I have a shit memory, so don't ever count on my memory for a single fucking thing. If we're gonna count on a good memory, we count on Bluebeards.
Speaking of Bluebeard, let's go back to when you were a young boy. And what
My.
Yeah, what did it for you for Star Wars? What got you into Star Wars?
Dude, it was seeing Star Wars. My household loved Star Wars. Like, I grew up in a Star Wars house. I still remember my brother had I don't know if anybody out there will remember these, but they had Star Wars bed sheets and like pillowcases and shit that they were dark blue, and it was supposed to be like the sky or whatever, and like stars and shit were all over it. And then it had the art from Star Wars 1 with like, Luke holding up the lightsaber and Leia looking all fucking hot and shit. And I remember those and thinking those were awesome. And I had a couple Star Wars toys, but the first time I had seen that shit, it was unlike anything I had seen before. I was born a year after Return of the Jedi, and by the time I have like real memories of it, I had the entire trilogy available to me to go and watch. I mean, we had that shit on Laserdisc in my house, fucking Laserdisc. And then on VHS everywhere. Everybody knows that shit's better on beta. Boom, fuck VHS.
Boom, motherfucker.
Throwing down, represent. But dude, it was so fucking crazy to me. I always thought, even as a kid, I thought Han Solo was the coolest character.
Oh,
I always, and now full grown ass man, a happy father. And I still think Han Solo was the coolest character out of the entire series.
I thought you were going to say Princess Amidala.
oh yeah. Oh no. Nah, man, it's just all about fucking Solo. I really don't think anybody at that time or even nowadays could have had the same kind of swagger that Harrison Ford did. Like, he bleeds charisma. Like, he's got just the right amount of like arrogance and cocky attitude and shit that you don't hate him, but you still believe that he can get shit done. And I like that. But, like seeing Darth Vader for the first time, I never thought he was scary or anything. I remember some kids thought Darth Vader was scary, and I was like, why? He's awesome. Like, look at him. He's really big, and he has a fucking red lightsaber that looks like it's glowing death. Like, that's fucking awesome. And I remember one thing. I remember like the first time I seen Obi-Wan die, I was like, what the fuck happened? Like, I didn't understand, like, how did you hit him with it and then like his body just disappeared, but his cloak is still like is his underwear and shoes there? Like, I don't understand all this shit.
Yeah. It's a bit of a weird death, isn't it? It's funny.
Dude, it was fun. Like, it's stupid as fuck. Like, it's really, really dumb. The way that they do. I know that they couldn't go with, like, straight up brutality type shit like they did in episode 3, but, man, it's just fucking dumb. Like, he's just do
you know what? And looking at it, I get that, but it's almost mythical. You know what I mean? As well, at the same time.
Nah, man, that shit's lazy as fuck.
I'll defend. I like that death. It's just so surreal that it's like Darth Vader can't kill him. You know what I mean? It's all that's left is the. Yeah, it's funny. There's no underwear. I get that, but still, I'm so used to it. I can't overanalyze it and dislike it now.
I just I think about that, but growing up on it, I mean, it was weird because growing up, I liked Star Wars 1 the most. Like
Yeah.
when I was a kid, up to like when I was a teenager, and then Empire Strikes Back. Like the more that I watched them, I loved Empire Strikes Back, and it's weird because I don't like Return of the Jedi all that much.
Oh,
Like
I do.
it's not a horrible movie. I'm definitely not going to say that. It's just that by comparison to the other two, it's not even in their fucking league.
Oh, I really do think it is. Yeah, I really do think it is. No, I like the first one. The first one's a great setup. You get to know the characters. Empire takes it into brand new directions, and then Return is just a great ending. I remember I was a kid and I saw Return in the theater. I was looking forward to the movie coming out. I was yeah, fuck yeah, and I
See,
must
dude,
have
that
been
makes you so lucky. You got to see that shit in theaters. Like I'm truly envious. Like no
well,
fucking joke.
and that's the thing. You have to remember, I was 9 years old, waiting for Return of the Jedi. Waiting, going buying the poster books for Return of the Jedi, going, "Oh my god, it's coming out soon! When's it out? When's it out?" And then seeing it, and it was awesome. Seeing the speeder bikes, seeing the Sarlacc pit, like there was a lot of great stuff in that. Seeing the brand new Scout Troopers, which was a big deal. We had snow troopers, we had regular stormtroopers, and then we had Scout Troopers, and the scouter bike guys looked amazing. I was just like,
Oh,
wow,
dude,
this is great.
Anytime that they had like newer versions of the troopers
Oh
at
yeah.
all, just seeing that kind of shit, it seemed like your world was just expanding more and more.
Oh
And
yeah.
like especially with like dude, the original trilogy, that shit was always amazing. Like, you'll start looking at background characters and shit and be like, "Oh, that race of characters from this planet and this
Yeah.
sector of the galaxy and shit." I like that kind of stuff.
The only thing I don't like about Star Wars is like Star Wars to me was always about exactly what you're saying, about a bit of mystery. Oh, look at the alien race in the back, those robots and this and this. And then I hate it that they have to over explain now what everything is. I like the mystery of not knowing what those races are. That's what makes them the mythos of Star
There's a
Wars.
lot to be said about storytelling that will like showcasing and telling less. It can in a lot of ways be more.
Yeah.
And less is more is like a very common phrase, but when you start applying it to works of fiction, when you have to start over explaining like how everything functions, how everything works, what it's created from, the backstory behind this, what are the origins of it, why does it decide to go and do this, why isn't it this way, what would happen if this and that, and all these different variables. And when you do that, you then open it up to like more and more discussion, and it kind of takes the magic away from the initial point of it's just there, accept it, move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And what do you think of the prequels?
Man, well, hold up. I actually want to hear more about when you were growing up, because like you had said you got to see it in theaters, which I mean, like I didn't get to do that, and I'm sure there's like plenty of people who are going to be listening to us who didn't get to see them in theaters, especially like during that time. But I mean, for you, did you get to see all three in theaters?
Yeah, absolutely, I did. And so I saw Star Wars in the late 70s. My parents took me. I was in England. We saw it there, and it just blew my mind. And I think I mentioned on another podcast, my mom and her friend looking around trying to get, saying, "Oh, I got a Han Solo, I got a Chewbacca figure." Like when merchandising for the very first time was kicking in with toys. The toys that was my first thing into the toys. And then Empire kicked in. There was nothing but toys. Like people forget that I used to walk into there used to be a place up here called the Bay and Eaton Center, and you'd walk in. They're big shopping places, and you'd walk in, and there'd be a fucking wall of Star Wars toys. And I always thought it was because I was a kid. My memory was that it was a lot bigger than what it was. I've seen photographs lately that people have posted online from the early 80s of like The Empire Strikes Back merchandising of all the Star Wars toys, the action figures. And quite literally, there wasn't like one or two TIE fighters. There was like 10 TIE fighters, 10 Millennium Falcons, 10 of this, 10 of this. And then figures like in rows and rows of figures. They don't have it the same way anymore. It's not the same phenomenon that it used to be. It was like insane. It was like, but part of the movies for me was the action figures. I was absolutely obsessed with playing them. All my friends played with them. We would go and play. You know how this is.
Oh yeah.
One friend would have an AT-AT. One friend would have a speeder bike, and we'd get together and we'd make our own adventures, and it was awesome. And then, seeing Empire Strikes Back downtown Ontario, downtown Toronto, back in 1981 was just like, wow. It was kind of funny because back then you'd watch Star Wars and you were quite happy with that. You're like, wow, Star Wars is the best. And then you're like, they're making another Star Wars? And then all of a sudden, these guys became your friends. And you went on this journey with them. And then for me, as a movie watcher, as a little kid, watching Star Wars, and then, oh my God, it's Empire Strikes Back, and following what happened there with Luke and all that, and his journey, and then going into the third one, and finally beating the Empire, and defeating Darth Vader, and Vader, all of these moments happening, it was like, wow. And here's the thing. I was enamored with Star Wars until, I don't know, the mid-90s, and then I started to lose a bit of steam. Because we hadn't had a new movie since 83.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow, I love Star Wars, but now it's kind of like, I'm kind of getting tired of it because there's nothing new. I've raped Star Wars so much at that point that I can't squeeze any more blood out of it. And then all of a sudden was it 98 or was it even 97 just announcing the new Star Wars movie? It was like, how old were you when they announced the new Star Wars movie?
Man, I'm pretty sure I was in middle school.
Wow, isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I was in middle school at the time, and that was a huge ass. There was actually before I forget, there was something I want to ask you about because I did this a lot as a kid. But did you ever take your Star Wars action figures with you to school?
We did. Like I would take Boba Fett to school. You know what I mean? I'd take a cool character to brag. That's it.
That I keep thinking about I'm imagining it all in my head back whenever I did that because I did that with Ninja Turtles a lot and Hot Wheels.
Yeah,
I would take that kind of shit. There was even a couple times that I would take comic books and shit, but I can imagine when Star Wars came out, tons of fucking kids. Even nowadays, I know damn well once Episode 7 hits, there's gonna be kids going to school and they're gonna fucking be trying to trade their figures or pretend that they're fighting and shit. But the idea of just seeing that stuff way back in the day, running around on the schoolyard, people busting out their book bags and getting out their action figures and chasing each other around. I love that idea, man.
It's so awesome. And that's the thing, and that's was a wonderful thing you brought up is those toys were an extension of the movie. It was all about imagination, and it was so cool that I would sit in my backyard and I would tell stories about how a TIE fighter had crashed in this jungle planet and Han Solo was piloting it and how he had to get through the forest and the jungle and get out, and I loved that. You know what I mean? Look at that. I was making my own stories, and that is why Star Wars is so important to me, is that it fueled my imagination. I mean, nothing else did. And people can bash George Lucas and call him Bluebeard, which he is, but George Lucas, for all the faults of the prequels, George Lucas made Star Wars.
Yep.
And I thank him. I mean, he made my childhood. I mean, I wouldn't be who I am without Star Wars. I wouldn't be doing this podcast. I wouldn't be on YouTube. I wouldn't be talking about my passions. I swear to God, Star Wars made me passionate.
I think in a lot of ways that Star Wars redefined a lot of shit in terms of entertainment.
Oh yeah.
For people. I mean, you were talking about the merchandise, for example. Star Wars and merchandise. I mean, most big franchises all have merchandise, but Star Wars is in its own special section when it comes to merch because, I mean, it's a big deal. They have all these collectibles. They have the Star Wars Lego sets. They have limited edition action figures. They have statues. They have, you can get a Darth Vader mask, a Boba Fett mask. And now you can get the Kylo Ren mask. Those things, they become iconic symbols. That's what people end up recognizing. To go around dressed up as these characters, I just think that that's so cool. Hell, I still remember the store called Groovies, which I haven't been to in years since they moved, but they would change up their display in the front, and the one time it was all Star Wars. Yeah. And they use like fishing line to hang the Star Wars ships themselves. Like you would see like an X-wing, hanging at the top, and it's going after like an Imperial ship and just like a bunch of cool stuff. Then at the bottom, it would be like a big war going on. And it was so awesome. You'd see like, the iconic characters inside there, tons of stormtroopers and monsters, and it was just so awesome. And that's merchandise, man. Like that's merchandise that now is like transcended to what you're talking about. People using their imagination, creating their own adventures and coming up with their own ideas, wearing a Star Wars shirt, wearing a fucking Darth Vader mask and shit. And now you cannot escape Star Wars when you go out anywhere. Let's see. I saw. I know that my buddy Jarrett has a lightsaber spatula that he just bought.
Yeah.
There's like a R2-D2 egg timer. Let's see. There is, like Star Wars fucking salt and pepper shakers. Just like so much stuff, and I don't know. I think that's kind of cool that they were able to go and do that.
It makes your life a little bit more fun when you have like a lightsaber spatula.
Yeah.
It just makes things just a little bit more fun.
Dude, to me, it's like that themed type shit. Somebody can be like, oh yeah, it's no big deal. It's just Star Wars stuff, but it's cool because it's just a basic everyday household item. But now all of a sudden, it's Star Warsized. I don't even know how I really want to go and apply such a term, but. You apply Star Wars some shit like that one refrigerator that looks like a Han Solo stuck in the carbonite.
Yeah.
Dude, when I saw that, I was like, holy fuck, I want that fridge. I don't know if it's a good fridge at all. I don't know if it's big. I don't know what the cubic feet is.
But I want it. I know.
Like seeing it, I'm like, dude, that's one of the coolest fucking things I've ever seen. I mean, I've thought, like, I remember talking to Billy one time, because he's got a bunch of the big-ass Star Wars ships. I'm like, dude, you know what you ought to do? Hang them from the fucking ceiling, and then put, like, string lights up there, and make it look like it's supposed to be the night sky, or it's supposed to be, like, out in the galaxy and shit, and make it look like they're flying around. I'm like, that'd be fucking killer.
Oh, definitely. It's funny.
Billy's
it's funny. Like I know you met him as well. I know he listens to the podcast. My friend Terrence, I saw him put him on Twitter yesterday. He's like, oh, I was really enjoying Star Wars Episode 7 until I see all the merchandising and how over the top the push is on everything. I'm like, but that's part of the momentum of Star Wars. Remember when Episode 1 came out? It didn't matter if the movie was good or not bad. Everything was Star Wars, and I loved it because of it. I hadn't seen the movie. I'm like, yes, Star Wars.
Dude, I think it's kind of cool that like I can understand from a lot of people's perspective that it can be overkill. I totally
and it is, and it is overkill. It absolutely is. And either you embrace it and have fun with it, or you get pissed off by it.
Like you are right though. It is a part of what Star Wars is. Like that basically is kind of like the holidays where people are decorating outside. Star Wars is merchandised everywhere. So you're not getting away from it, and it's just like the hype train. You're on the hype train, and you're just sitting in your compartment waiting and waiting and waiting until you get to your stop, which is the movie theater, so you can see it on the big silver screen and just lose your fucking mind.
Yeah.
I don't know. I dig that shit, but yeah, despite like all the shit that's said about the prequels, man, George Lucas definitely gets like a fuck ton of props from us because, without him, this wouldn't exist. It wouldn't have had like the influence and impact on cinema, on fiction in general, on sci-fi, on like tons of different things. I mean, think about the amount of Star Wars video games, the amount of conventions that have changed because of Star Wars. Like think about the comic books, actual literature. Think about people who have. Their lives have been changed just like you because they watched this series and they might not be who they are because of it. That's just fucking nuts, man.
Could you imagine being the man who created all that and you're sitting back and you're like, I changed popular culture forever. And you're like, that is insane. It's like, I don't blame him for getting a little bit full of himself and thinking, hey, I think I know what I'm doing. I'm just gonna go write Star Wars my first draft and and make that movie. Because he thought he is Star Wars, but at the same point, he kind of became corrupted by his own success. Unfortunately, I don't think he meant to be. He's not, he's not a bad human being. George Lucas is a good human being, but I think he just got lost in it all. And I'd be the first to get lost in that. And
I mean, it's a very special and kind of a privileged position when you think about it, because not only are you responsible for doing all that, and sure as shit, whenever he was creating it, he knew he was making something special, but no one expects it to turn into what it is. I mean, to become the biggest movie franchise in the entire world. Nobody's ever expecting that.
Nobody.
And it becomes scary in a lot of ways, because with the prequels, it was like, man, I have to live up to that legacy this many years later. Fuck.
Yeah,
that is a horrifying.
And supposedly, like Ron, he went to supposedly for episodes 1, 2, and 3. He went to Ron Howard, Steven Spielberg, and Zemeckis, and asked them if they wanted to direct episode 1, 2, and 3, and they all turned him down and said, "No way, you do it." And so, could you imagine how different those movies would have been if Steven Spielberg had directed episode 1?
Oh yeah, I think they have been really different. I don't know if I would want to go and take on such a thing, because you have to realize the ravenous fan base that's going to hold you responsible if you do not deliver.
Yeah. And I think even J.J. Abrams is feeling the intensity. I think J.J. Abrams, we haven't seen the movie, but from all accounts, I think he's really happy with the movie, but at the same point, he's terrified. Could you imagine you make this movie, like, I feel really good about it, but I don't know.
I mean, I think that he's going to be confident about it, because, well, it's stressful, because, I mean, holy shit, you have so much riding on your shoulders. You're working for Disney, you're working on the biggest movie franchise in the entire world, and it's going to be fucking big. Regardless of if, everybody loves or hates the movie, everybody's going to go see it. Yeah. And I think that it will turn out to be really good, because, man, those fucking trailers, every single one of them, including the one Japanese one, I wasn't this excited about Star Wars Episode 1, 2, or 3, and I haven't felt this way since I watched the original trilogy, and that's honestly the truth. I feel 100% in my gut, in my fucking heart, in my mind's mind, that this is exactly what Star Wars was meant to be in terms of a new Star Wars for a modern era.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that they kind of, like, it sounds mean to say, but I'm really glad that they kind of took it away from George Lucas, and that we're getting this. This is a godsend. This is everything that we wanted, because I think that George Lucas didn't understand what he had created. It was so much bigger than him, and a lot of people understood Star Wars a lot more than what he did in the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like, he went to create the soap opera in space and blah, blah, blah. But when he went to write the prequels, it's like he didn't even make the originals. It was so bizarre, so different. And I know we had other directors do it, and it was written by other people. I get it. But I'm glad it's been taken over by people who are passionate about Star Wars and seem to get it. And you can see that in the new trailers. We got TIE Fighters back. We have the Millennium Falcon back. Everything feels good again.
We have part of the Star Destroyer back.
Well, part of it, yeah. But that's the cool thing. There'll be other Star Destroyers. The new First Order Star Destroyers and stuff like that. So,
okay. Now here's an interesting question. Out of all the Star Wars movies, all 6 of them, what would you rank them from best to worst?
Okay, this is gonna be Empire, Return, Star Wars, Episode 1, Episode 3, Episode 2.
Not
bad.
What
would you do?
Not bad. Let's see. Best to worst. Let's see. So I'll go with Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars. Return of Jedi.
Oh, good. Because I'm like, he's gonna dog Return.
Return of Jedi, Star Wars Episode 3, Episode 1, And I wish I could place episode 2 even lower, but
Two.
I can't. So it just sits at the last.
It is absolutely horrendous. Episode 2.
It is. It's I've seen a lot of disappointing movies, not quite that disappointing. Because that movie was supposed to be good. It was supposed to just be amazing, and it was holy fuck. It was like being hyped up for something, that you've been waiting years for, and you're like, fuck yeah, this is gonna be so great. What the fuck happened? Wait, that was it? Did I just watch what? Like,
and the thing is he always said, oh, it's going to be a love story. People won't love a love story. Bullshit. I watched Titanic and I love that love story. So fuck that shit. I've watched a lot of love stories that I like. I personally like. Do I go out of my way to see love stories? Not particularly, but I can appreciate a good one. And episode 2 was not a good one. It's the worst I've ever seen.
The thing is, I've seen plenty of movies, that they, the entire movie of like, this is an action movie, this is a horror movie, this is whatever. And then they have a love story mixed into it, and it's done well. It's thoughtful, it's performed well, and you gave a shit about the characters to want to see them get together. They did not understand that at all. You should not be that fucking robotic whenever you're supposedly in love. Like, it's as if they fucking hated each other with every fiber of their being, and they were forced to just be in the same room together and smile and shit, because god damn was it bad.
Yeah, oh god, it was the worst.
But one big thing, it's at the very least, he became fucking Darth Vader, so that's cool. Yay.
Yeah, I guess. It was just so disappointing. I was just so see, okay, here's the thing. I remember, like, back in the 90s, early 90s, talking to friends of mine, and we'd all be like, oh man, the Clone Wars. I bet that's because remember in the Star Wars, they talk about, oh, your father fought in the Clone Wars. Our imaginations were as big as the sky, as big as the universe, thinking about this amazing Clone War battle. A thing that you couldn't even imagine, and, like all the Jedis and the, gritty looking and brutal and so wild and big in scope. And then you see it and you're like, oh, they're not calling it, the Clone War, it's the Attack of the Clones. I always thought it was going to be called the Clone Wars.
It should have been called that. It made no sense that it wasn't. And I mean, not that it even matters. The title, I mean, they could call it fucking Star Wars, Jabba the Hutt, Butterfly Kisses. And it wouldn't make a lick of difference because it was just done so fucking shittily.
Oh, yeah. I remember, you're right, the title doesn't matter, but I remember they went to Ewan McGregor, and he hadn't heard the name of the of episode 2 yet, and some news people went up to him and said, hey, have you heard the name of the new the second Star Wars movie? He's like, no. He goes, I haven't heard it yet. He goes, what is it? And they go, Attack of the Clones. He's like, yeah, you're not serious, are you? And they're like, yeah, and it's called Attack of the Clones. He's like, is it really? And he's like, even he is in the fucking movie and didn't believe it.
Yeah, it's stuff like that. It's just tiny details, man. I've talked about it in the past, but man, I still remember being let down because I thought Star Wars Episode 1 was going to be Shadows of the Empire. Yeah. And I mean, I fucking loved that. I thought it was so goddamn cool. Why do you think it was going
to be Shadows of the Empire?
Like, it should have been. Like, I wish that they would have rolled with that storyline, just went ahead with it. It'd been really cool, but they didn't. They did what they had to do, and it is what it is. But, look, well, here... To go and switch gears, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Do you have any predictions right now that you want to say before the movie comes out? Because this would be the time to do it.
Now, this is really funny that you would say that, because tomorrow on YouTube, I have a very special episode coming out called My Star Wars 7 Predictions Told with Toys.
Oh my.
So I tell the entire story of episode 7, what I think it's going to be, and I illustrate it with all the episode 7 toys. and it's got some humorous bits, but it's got some big spoilers. Yeah, so if anybody wants to fuck off right now, I'm going to talk about what I think spoilers are going to happen. And this, I've not seen the movie. I don't know any inside information, obviously.
Hey, I know damn well you and Bluebeard were fucking partying hard. So I think that you know some shit you're not letting on.
Yeah, he was fucking me in the back of his truck, and I'm like, tell me, George, what happens? What happens in episode 7? He's like, I don't know, from what I heard from Abrams. But I believe that they're making it seem like Finn is a Jedi, but Finn is not a Jedi. For some reason, somebody thinks that he is an alien, and he gets a lightsaber. I don't know how he gets a lightsaber. I've often said that. Don't know how he gets a lightsaber. He gets it, and he thinks he is a Jedi. He has no reason. He's like, oh yeah, maybe I am. I got to get good at it. But it's not him. It's Rey who's the Jedi. And I believe Rey is Han Solo's daughter. And I believe Kylo Ren is Han Solo's son. And what happens in the end of the movie, this is pure speculation, is that Finn goes after Kylo Ren. Finn gets knocked down. Han Solo steps in. Han Solo gets killed. Rey picks up the lightsaber. She fights Kylo Ren, brother to sister. She fights him off. And that's the end of that. And then she goes to train with Uncle Luke by order of Princess Leia, or whatever Leia is going to be called in this new one. That's how I think the movie's going to end. And I have a lot of speculations of what happens. Obviously, the Starkiller base gets stopped and all that. And there'll be a bigger villain, bigger than the Emperor. Somebody even was pulling the strings of the Emperor, which will be Andy Serkis. He will be all the way through it as well. He's going to be a mysterious bad guy.
Now, do you think that they're going to have, like, a bit, like, more Sith characters within this trilogy, like an actual, like, council that are going to be out there instead of just, like, 1 or 2 throughout the entire thing?
I think they're going to take it a much more unusual direction. I think that there's going to be, as I said in my spoilers for tomorrow, there's going to be some mysterious entity, I'm going to call it right now, which is Andy Serkis, played by Andy Serkis. He's going to be behind the scenes, and I think he's always been behind the scenes since the Empire days, pulling the strings. And I think we'll find out him in the episode 9. Episode 8 or 9, he'll get revealed. But he's in the shadows right now. And he's telling General Hux what's going on. General Hux is in charge of the entire First Order troops. Below him is Captain Phasma. I don't know how they pronounce that yet. And below him is Kylo Ren. Or below her. Sorry, he's Kylo Ren. And he's got the Knights of Ren around him, which is like a religious sect, I do believe, that has an affection to the old days of the Empire. So this is all shit I'm piecing together. Hey, watch my video tomorrow, and I tell the whole thing with Star Wars toys.
All things considered, everybody should watch it just based off the fact this fucking man did it with toys, for fuck's sake, people. You have to watch it based off that.
So we had company over, and Kim went out with with a friend of ours for the day, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to film everything. And trust me, I wasn't looking forward to it. And I'm sitting on hardwood floor for 5.5 hours. I must have done, I don't know how many shots. I used so many shots I didn't even use in the video. But setting up shots, lighting, and I was very, very proud of a lot of shots. Like, we're talking set up, shoot, boom, 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 move the character, okay, go, next, and I'm doing this all from my mind of the rant that I did of what I think the spoilers will be. So it's a very interesting experiment. Most people are like, I fucking hate this video. Who knows? I don't care. I wanted to do it. I enjoyed it.
I gotta say, I know that you can pull off a full movie because everybody already knows about the motherfucking Happy Console Gamer movie. But now I feel as though if this takes off as like one of your best fucking videos ever, I demand right now, or I'll go on strike. I demand a full-length Happy Console Gamer Star Wars action figure movie.
So I haven't told anybody this, and I'm not going to get into the details, but depending on the way episode 7 goes, yes or no, I believe I have a storyline in mind with a lesser character, and I'm going to tell an entire story about this character. It's a little passion project that I like to do. It kind of gives me a reason to play with the toys again and do really cool setups and stuff I always wanted to do as a kid. And but I do, yeah, I have some ideas in mind, and you've known as well that I've wanted to do some Star Wars toy stuff for a while, and the prediction videos, the way that this has all come out for now, but there's more to come. I didn't buy all these toys for nothing. That's for damn sure. So
I'm going to toss in one of my theories about the episode 7. Actually, it'll encompass the entire trilogy. But what I feel is that Kylo Ren is going to be a character who goes from being part of the dark side to becoming a good guy.
Yeah.
Officially. Not in the same way that Darth Vader did, but I'm talking like still alive.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, yeah.
Like, he realizes, man, this is pretty fucked up. And considering that there's always going to be shady shit going on, I think because I think that he'll be lawful evil.
Yeah, exactly.
And being lawful evil means that you're still abiding by some kind of rules and code. And, I do feel that there's certain characters in the dark side of the Star Wars universe that aren't technically evil.
Yeah.
But, they're part of the Sith and everything, and I feel that he'll be, like, one of those outsiders that ends up doing some shit like that, which, I think would be fucking cool, because he looks so goddamn badass.
Yeah.
And,
he's awesome.
He's got badass blood in him. I do agree with you on Rey being a Jedi. That I see happening.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. They're making it so obvious it's Finn that it's just not.
The thing is, I do think that Finn is a Jedi, but I think that there's going to be characters that are introduced in episodes 8 and 9, which are going to explain his backstory on why he's a Jedi. Because, right now we only know about what's been given to us with this particular episode, but I do think that there's, like, other shit going on with him, because he's kind of one of the more mysterious characters in episode 7, because we don't know a lot about him.
I really think, what I also say in my spoilers, that I believe he's working for the Resistance. He is a stormtrooper that is undercover, and he's coming back, and he has the plans for the Starkiller base. Oh, again, I'm making this shit up off the top of my head. This is what I think it is. I'm maybe completely wrong, but that's what I'm thinking. And remember one thing. In the trailer, he's holding a jacket. I don't know where he got that jacket from. It's his personal jacket. He crash landed in the TIE Fighter. That's a Resistance jacket. Because if you look later on, Poe Dameron's wearing it. And then Finn's wearing it. Back when they're at the Resistance base. And it's like, why is he gone? If he's a stormtrooper, why is he gone a Resistance jacket?
Well, the whole stormtrooper thing could also be there could be a point in the movie where they need to infiltrate, and he's one of the best candidates for being able to get inside and do recon.
Yeah.
So
I think he gets discovered and he has to get the fuck out of there. Maybe one of his friends gets killed. He's like, holy shit. And things start going sideways for them, and he has to get the fuck out.
Yeah, which would explain a lot of the action scenes where all hell was breaking loose, and he looked worried as fuck, because he definitely had the expression of, my life's in danger, and I might die. Blood will be spilled, and it'll be mine.
Yeah, pretty much so. And then, as I said in my thing, he will run into Rey, BB-8, I believe. I don't know why. I'm so wrong with this one, I know, and I know it. But I think BB-8 has been sent by Leia, and I think there's a bunch of BB-8s all over the universe, like looking for Leia, looking for her daughter. But I may be completely wrong, and maybe BB-8 has the plans for the Starkiller base, and it's not Finn. I think Finn has the plans for the Starkiller base. That's why it's important to get him back to the Resistance base.
But it could be that just because shit runs in a family, Rey might have built BB-8.
No, she finds BB-8.
Does she?
Finds BB-8. Yeah, she's riding along, and she sees some scavengers who have captured BB-8, and she fights them off, and rescues BB-8.
Oh, okay.
I know, and I know that because I have the toys.
I was gonna say I have zero of the toy. I tried to get a Kylo Ren figure and that was impossible. So that was that was the only one with that. Now you did bring up that you think that Han Solo is going to die in this one.
Yeah, definitely.
That I've been wondering about because I figured that they are going to kill off somebody major, but because there's so many people tied directly to Solo and to Leia and to Luke. I don't know if they want to go and pull the trigger on killing off a major character like that early on in a trilogy.
I think they do, and the reason why is it creates an excellent revenge story arc. So there we go. We have Rey, who is Han Solo's daughter, who doesn't think she's a Jedi. She doesn't know anything about her past that way. This is guesstimation. Finn and Kylo Ren fight. Finn isn't a Jedi, it's proved. He kind of gets knocked to the side. Han Solo steps in to save Finn because he's a good character. Kylo Ren kills his father, doesn't even know it. Listen to the soap opera drama here. Rey picks up the lightsaber and is all of a sudden incredible at it. And then Rey figures out that it's Han Solo was her father. I mean, the drama. And then she goes off. Then Leia, her mom, says, go train with Uncle Luke. And she goes off to, train with her uncle. It's unbelievable stuff. Like,
I don't know, man. I'm really thinking that Luke comes in towards the end as kind of like I think that he actually will intervene towards the end of episode 7. Based off of the one scene that they had showed, because it was a very relaxed scene where not a lot of crazy shit was going on, and part of me thinks that is either that's probably around the time that he's leaving. It was whenever they were showing that, but I feel like he's going to show up and intervene in something. And because you figure if Kylo Ren went and killed Han Solo, there's no way that Kylo Ren could ever turn to a good guy, and he'd become primeval at that point. And
maybe he didn't know it was his father.
True, but you can't come back from something like that. Nobody would ever forgive him, and he could never,
Yeah, you got a good point. I fully agree with you, actually. Yeah, I know. You'd always be an asshole who you hate because you kill Han Solo.
But I do think that there will be a revenge story. That makes a lot of sense because...
Well, maybe you're right. Maybe Kylo Ren doesn't kill him, but somebody does.
See, I think that'll happen. I don't know if it'll... it would make sense for it to happen in this movie for it to spur on into, episode 8 and 9. But I also worry, is it too soon to go and do that? But, if the movie's fucking 3 hours long, they can totally get away with...
I think this is a handoff. This is a handoff from the old cast to the new cast. And the reason why I think Han Solo dies is because he always wanted to get killed in the last movie. So
True.
It just makes sense that they would say, hey, Harrison, come back and do this one. And he'd be like, I don't want to come back. And then we'll kill you. Okay.
He has admittedly, during all the interviews that he's talked in, has been really, really positive and all about this movie.
Yeah.
Big time, which, most people, if he's kind of I'm so fucking sick of that shit. But he's nah, man, this shit's legit.
I saw in the movie too. He knows what he's very good that way. He's very good that way because I remember Shia LaBeouf was going off about how bad Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was, and I remember Harrison Ford was pissed off at him, saying, "Kid, you got to support a movie even if it's bad."
Yeah.
So
now, okay, so we got predictions out of the way. Mm-hmm. Now, is there any particular, especially with the new Battlefront game that just got released, is there any Star Wars games that you feel are probably some of your favorites, standout titles, especially for a longtime fan that's been there since day one of Star Wars? And you're a big time gamer. There has to be some games that you're just man, any Star Wars.
Yeah. There's a few for sure. I remember the Empire Strikes Back game I played on the Atari was not one of them. I remember as a kid in 1980. God, it must have been 82. My parents bought our family an Atari 2600, and I had Empire Strikes Back, and it's just you're just flying, fighting the same AT-ATs over and over. I've talked about it before. It was so boring. I was like, what? I don't feel any of the excitement for Star Wars in this game. But it was, okay, and you're gonna agree because you already mentioned it, and I agree with you on this one. Shadows of the Empire and the Star Wars games on the Super Nintendo. Those games are like, oh my god, they were fucking hard as a cunt.
They are. You know what? Those games, I played the fucking hell out of Star Wars, Super Star Wars, and Super Empire Strikes Back. I fucking played the shit out of them, and nuts. I couldn't beat either. No matter how hard I tried, they just beat my ass into the ground. And that's not for a lack of trying or a lack of skill. I mean, I was mastering the fuck out of them. It's just those games, they are relentless. But I'll say this. For anybody who's like a big Star Wars fan, they're fucking great. And I know that, was it the Star Wars Battlefront bundle for PS4 that's got like the Darth Vader PS4?
Yeah.
Apparently you can get digital copies of the Super Star Wars games with those.
Oh, Jesus, I didn't even know that.
And I was like, holy fucking shit, you're kidding me. Like, those are Super Nintendo games showing up on a PlayStation console. It just, my brain did like a fucking 360. It was just like, what?
Be as frustrated again for the very first time.
Yeah, like, oh man. And people are like, for a new generation who thinks playing the Demon Souls games are the only hard games out there, allow us to go and show you what true despair feels like.
Oh, my friend Andrew had all those games, and I would go down there, and I was a huge Star Wars fan. I tried to play them. I tried to aspire to be good. I sucked. I can absolutely. I couldn't get with the program. I sucked. Those games are hard.
Dude, they're fucking ridiculous, man. It's like those ones. I love those a lot. There was one that I grew up with. I have lots of memories of this game, and I played it a bunch. As a matter of fact, like I got to play it the first time at my sister's boyfriend's house, and where I got my very first taste of playing the Jumping Flash games on PlayStation 1, and got to play the Super Star Wars games there for the first time, and then got to play Star Wars Dark Forces.
Yeah.
Now that's on PS1. And it's on PC as well. But I played PlayStation 1 version, and man, that game was so fucking cool. And I remember that there was one really hard enemy in it. Man, I can't remember. Was it like a gray stormtrooper or some shit?
I don't know.
Fuck. There was some like relentlessly difficult enemy that was in the game, but I just remember like so many times trying to traverse through all the secret areas because it was like the old school like first person shooters like Duke Nukem and Doom and shit, where there was a lot of secret areas that, you know, you would have to go and find that one hidden wall and this switch and shit. So you're trying to go and do platforming and shit, and you're just falling to your death, and you're like, why the fuck? Damn it. But that game, that was really good. The Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic games.
Oh, thank you so much. That was a religion to me. You know, I bought that game. I went and physically bought it. I did not have an Xbox. And I said to my friend, can I borrow your Xbox for a week? He's like, oh, I don't even play my Xbox. Take it. And I took it, and I played Knights of the Old Republic, and that is, thank you. I was thinking when you brought that up, you're like, what's your favorite Star Wars games? I'm like, I have a ton. Like, where the fuck are they in my brain? Oh, Knights of the Old Republic was just the best RPG of Star Wars I've ever played. I loved that game.
Oh yeah, for anybody out there, if you have not played or if for whatever reason even heard of the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic games, stop what you're doing and get them and play them, because these are, I mean, a lot of people love Star Wars Expanded Universe. Now you get to live it and breathe it and mold it. Like,
oh, it's so good.
It's fucking phenomenal, man. And like, I love Western style RPGs when done well. Like, you know, when I think about like the Fallout games, or when I think about the Diablo games or some shit like that, Knights of the Old Republic gets to be in that bracket of really fucking badass games. You know, pick them up, play them. I forget off the top of my head. I know that they had the Xbox release, but did they ever have a release on PC?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely they did. Yes.
I know that's a dumb question, but for some reason I couldn't fucking remember. But
yeah, I don't even have a PC, and I knew that. Yeah, for sure, because it looked so much better. You
I'm
know,
going
there's
to
like
have
mods.
to like
Yeah.
go out of my way and pick those up, but another really good Star Wars game. Oh, actually, series really, but the first two I'd love to shit out of. I never really got to play the third one, but the Star Wars Rogue Squadron games.
Oh, got on the GameCube.
Yeah, dude.
Oh God, yeah.
The first one on Nintendo 64 was one of the earliest games I can think of that used the expansion pack, and
Yeah.
it looked beautiful. I mean, just the control in it was it Factor 5 was the company behind it, and they knocked it out of the park. I mean, the
Oh,
dog fights in that, you're flying around, and you felt like you were really flying around in these ships, taking down TIE fighters. You know, you really felt like you're on Hoth. You really felt like you were there controlling this shit. And I was like, holy fuck. Like, this was like new level shit. Nintendo thought so highly of these games, and rightfully so, because they were system sellers, man.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
fuck,
Like that they were. You
like
know.
on GameCube, was it Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2? I
Yeah.
swear, visually, that was one of the nicest looking fucking games ever.
They were beautiful games. They controlled so well. They were. I remember because I rented it when I first got my GameCube. And I'm like, this shit is the fucking bomb.
Oh yeah.
You know. So it's so funny. You were much more prepared. You remembered. I'm like, I had a blank. You know, it was one of those days. I'm like blank. And you start
Dude,
talking about,
it's
oh
just,
yeah, fuck those games. Yeah,
like I was thinking about so much of this stuff off the top of my head because you know, Star Wars covers so much. I mean, the only thing the Star Wars universe that I haven't really gotten like super into because I just haven't had the opportunity is like reading the books and the comic books.
Yeah, a lot of people. Oh god, the amount of people that swear the religion of the books, and I'm just like, yeah, yeah, you know what I mean? Like they're like, no, you have to. The books are amazing. This happens. This happens. I'm like, I bet. And you know what I mean? I bet. And now they're like, oh, is this going to be in there from the book? And I'm like, nothing will be in there from the book. I think maybe some things will be, but not a lot. Folks, don't bet on that because I don't think it's going to happen. But
Oh, dude, it's I do want to get like I want to get into them at some point. It's just you know when you think about like okay, I got a backlog of games, TV shows, movies, anime, music, like everything. I'm like, all right, one day I swear when there's more than 24 hours in a singular day, I will.
yeah, there's way too much media nowadays. We know that. There's just way too much. You know, there's how many fucking Star Wars games have come out since then? Jesus.
And you know what? One of the nice things is that we are getting Star Wars this month. It's going to be amazing. We're all going to see it. We get to celebrate the holidays, but we also have to remember to watch the Star Wars holiday fucking Christmas extravaganza.
Oh God, it's so tough to watch that. But you know what we should do is we should do an episode after we see episode 7, just talking about episode 7.
I'd be down with that.
I'd be down with it. I think that'll be a lot. Do you have your tickets?
I don't. I'm not going. I'm more than likely not going to be going on day one because I don't want to deal with the crowds. Because that stuff always bothers me. We're probably going to go around Sean's birthday, so it'll be like a couple days later.
Yeah.
And we're gonna go see it because we want to go in like one big group.
Of course.
And it'll be hard to go and do that considering most people are like, yep, pre-ordered my ticket, and none of us want to deal with any of that shit. And I know that I want to see it on day one, but, you know, shit happens.
Yeah, I can't wait. No matter what, it's going to be an experience, and I really hope it's. All I want is a good movie. It doesn't have to change the world as long as it's just fun. That's all I want.
Oh yeah, and that's all that people should expect, and that's not lowering your expectations just so that you won't be disappointed. That is realizing the reason that you're going and seeing a movie is to enjoy it and have fun. You know, and Star Wars should be about fun. Granted, you can't always have fun because sometimes you see Star Wars Episode 2 and you're like, why did this happen? Why can't we get like the fucking Clone Wars CG like episodes made into a movie which are a million times fucking better than Star Wars Episode 1 and 2. Like they're literally a lot fucking better.
It's all a big load of crap. It's just it's frustrating. You can never. And I remember Red Letter Media said it best is that those movies can never be unmade, and that's the biggest sad truth of it all. But
They can never be unmade, but you know what? That's okay so long as they go from here on out and do better and match the quality or even somehow manage to exceed the quality of the originals, then they're fucking aces in my book.
I wonder if there's gonna be Force Ghosts again. You know what I mean? Like, is Yoda gonna come back as a Force Ghost?
Dude, they might. I mean, there's a lot of shit. I keep on thinking about, like, everybody thinks, you know, what will they bring back, but I keep on thinking about what the fuck new shit are they going to introduce?
Yeah, I'm
Like
more
brand new
interested in
things that'll become a mainstay within the series. And I haven't heard of many like any theaters actually so far doing this, but there should be theaters out there, like maybe a night or two before, that decide to have a big marathon of all 6 movies.
Yeah,
You go in and you pay one price and just watch them all.
there is in Vancouver here, I believe. And what me and Kim are gonna do, we're gonna watch episode 4, 5, and 6, and then 7. We are not. I'm not. We're not enduring 1, 2, and 3. Ain't happening. Not happening. I'm not rooting.
I don't blame you there, because well, then again, at least you get to end on a high note no matter what. So even if you watch the first 3, you know, it's like, well, you still get to end with Return of the Jedi, so all's good.
Yeah,
Now,
I love Return of the Jedi, so it's all good with me. So, yeah, I think we should just wrap it up and call it a day. We've talked for a fucking long time about this.
no, it's
We
Star
can keep on
Wars. There
going.
was-
It's nuts.
I don't think that there was a way that we were going to be able to talk about Star Wars and keep it under like the hour limit that we typically do.
No, not with this stuff. No, it's too much. You know. So, oh my god. Oh, I was like, what the fuck is our ending again? I'm like, what is that again? I remember. So, guys, enjoy Star Wars Episode 7, and let's see how right or wrong we were about all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
I think
what the fuck are you gonna say? Huh?
I said I think it'll be neat.
That Star Wars Episode 7 is gonna be something. I don't know what. It's yeah. Are we gonna call him Jar Jar Abrams, or are we gonna put him on our shoulders and cry?
Dude, if he manages to fuck up to the point that we have to call him Jar Jar Abrams, I really think that he might have to get facial reconstruction surgery just so that he can change his identity and get put into the witness protection program.
Oh my god! I bet he's nervous.
But he's gonna deliver. I have all the faith in this movie. That those trailers were enough for me to be able to cement the fact that this is going to kick fucking ass and take names.
You do remember that Episode 1, 2, and 3 had good trailers as well.
To be honest, man, I really wasn't nearly as excited watching any of those trailers like I was with this. Like, I thought they were exciting because they were good trailers, but they did not have this vibe, they did not have this feeling, and especially after me being a lot more cautious considering that I've had bad Star Wars movies, and then seeing this, I'm like, well, you really gotta fucking impress me, and they did. They've impressed the living fuck out of me, so I'm just like, shit, they'll totally be fine.
Yeah, I'm crossing my fingers, and so we'll end it here. 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 So